Good morning, everyone. And how are you today? My name is Frank Zamalin, Terry Zamalin, and I want to welcome you to Awakening Ways Spiritual Community. Awakening Ways is a spiritual community in the tradition and lineage of Ernest Holmes. We believe that in the New Thought doctrine that there is one unifying principle behind all things, and that is God. And that all things are one. All things are connected. And that when we awaken to our oneness with the all, when we awaken to our oneness with the divine, that is when we enter into that healing power, that healing presence that allows us to do the work of healing ourselves, healing others, and bringing the abundance of the universe into our lives. That is the truth in which we believe. And it has justified itself in oh so many ways in the lives of those of us that have been around this for a while. All of us came here by different paths. Whatever the path was that's brought you here this morning, for right now, for this precious moment, for this sacred moment, you're here. Welcome home. We've been waiting for you. We are all one. Ernest Holmes said, there is a point in the supreme moment of realization where the individual merges with the universe, not to the loss of his individuality, where a sense of the oneness of all life so enters his being that there is no sense of otherness. And it is here that the mentality performs seeming miracles, because there is nothing to hinder the whole from coming through. That is the truth in which we believe. Please join me for a moment of invocation. I know that there is one supreme power in the universe, one beingness in the universe, of which we are all a part. I know that that divine beingness is all wisdom, all love. By whatever name we call it, it is the divine, and it is present in each and every living being. For each and all are part of it, are one with it, and all of it is present within me. Although I may not be able to live all of it. I am not a particle of it. I am not a sliver of it. I am all of it, present right here, right now, in this body. And as I know it's true for me, I know it's true for everyone, every sentient being, every living creature everywhere, that each of us are all of God, expressing that in our own unique way. We have come together this morning as one community. And in this one community, we are one. We are so blessed. We are so joyful. We are so ready to listen, to hear, and to embody these divine words that Reverend Terry speaks this morning, that our musicians sing for us this morning, and carry that out into the world, that we may be that healing presence the world is calling for. I know that this is true. I rejoice in it. And I give thanks. And I simply say, and so it is. Amen.
Sitting in silence, watching the ocean, everything flowing together. Watching the pelicans diving into the sea. I can't help but think I'm sitting with God. Watching the parents and the children, oh those families, everyone loving one another. Listening to laughter, it suddenly hits me. I can't help but think I'm hanging with God. Sure, things can get tough, now you know what I mean. But the sun is still shining and the sea is still green. 'Cause the way that I feel is truly what's real. Life keeps getting better and better and better. Seeing the sunrise peeping over the mountains. Another new day comes to greet me. I sit and reflect, good feelings unchecked. Content in the knowledge I'm jamming with God. Oh, sure, I want more, but who don't? And I don't let it get me down. No, I won't. 'Cause all this is mine. From the sea to the sunshine, life keeps getting better and better. Sitting here singing and strumming my guitar with all of you fine folks before me. Think I'll sing one last note, 'cause that's all that I wrote. I can't help but think I'm singing with God.
Namaste. The light and love of the divine in me honors and greets the light and love of the divine in each and every one of you here this morning. And, you know, I don't know, I couldn't unmute. Maybe there's nothing I have to say this morning. I don't know. But we are talking about oneness, and what a perfect topic to talk about. I realize this, for me, this talk this morning is a little, it's a little bittersweet, because I realize that this is probably the last full talk that I will give as a, one of your spiritual leaders here at Awakening Ways. And so that's shocking. But the perfect topic, oneness, how could it get any better? Oneness. So we talk about oneness here all the time. New Thought talks about oneness. New Age talks about oneness. It's a very familiar idea to us. But when I walk around this neighborhood where I live and I see people passing by me, I wonder what it would be like to walk up to them and just start talking to them about oneness. What would that be like? I imagined that, if I started talking about it, they'd say, well, what are you talking about? What's all this stuff about oneness? What the heck is it anyway? I mean, I don't get it. I don't think I need it. I have a perfectly fine, happy life without it. What does it do for me anyway? It just sounds like a bunch of woo-woo stuff. Maybe they have a point in some way. When we talk about oneness here, or we talk about it with one another, we're talking about it in spiritual terms, aren't we? And we know what we're talking about. But here's the thing. To a dancer, oneness is that moment when they were dancing and their feet and their body were moving without any conscious effort on their part. They experienced oneness in that moment. What about the baseball player or the golfer who hits the ball absolutely perfectly, the sweet spot, and the ball goes sailing, and it becomes this union, this sense of oneness where they just become the ball itself. What about the runner? And I used to run. I know exactly what this is like. To the runner, oneness is that moment where you're in the zone. You've been running for a while, and the breath kicks in, and it has this steady rhythm, and your feet are moving, your legs are moving, your body is moving, and it all is just happening. It's just happening without any effort at all. You're just, the body and the running is running you. If we were to talk to a writer of any kind, they would say, well, the song or the poem or the paper or the book just seemed to write itself. I don't know what happened. These are all experiences of oneness, and everyone has had some form of experience of oneness similar to that. We just don't call it that. And so I think if I were to talk to people here and I could tell them that that's what it is, they would understand. They would completely understand. But for us, we know what it is. We know what we're talking about when we talk about oneness. And the advantage of that is that we know that we can create opportunities to experience oneness in our lives, to actually create the opportunities for ourselves. Ernest Holmes said this: we see that the first principle of life is oneness. The first performance of life is multiplying itself without dividing itself. Life must be one, and that one, in order to be expressed, must be many. But the many, in order to exist, must live in the one. Dr. Holmes is reminding us, and we need the constant reminder. And he's reminding us that there is only one life. And we are in it, and it is in us always, always, all the time. New Thought Spirituality says this over and over and over again and again and again. We say it here over and over and again and again. And, you say, or people say, okay, enough, enough, enough. I understand. I understand. I really, really understand it. And we do understand it. We understand it to a point. But do we fully understand it? Well, I think maybe not. Because if we all fully understood what oneness was and understood it and embodied it, then we would all be enlightened. Oops. So we do need these constant reminders, right? This is a journey that we're on. We're on this spiritual journey. And the truth of the matter is that there's only one thing that you have to find on this journey. There's only one experience on the spiritual journey. The goal is always the same. And that goal is to experience oneness, to live in a place, a mind, a being, an awareness of oneness. This is what the journey is all about, plain and simple. Jesus understood this. The Buddha understood this. Gandhi understood this. Meister Eckhart understood it. So many enlightened beings. Ramana Maharshi, He understood it. Modern day people like Eckhart Tolle, he understands it. Adyashanti, he understands it. Alan Watts, if you ever heard or read anything by Alan Watts, the man was so enlightened he could barely speak in understandable language. They all understood that this life that we have, this life that that we're living, is all about discovering that this life that we're living is not really our life. It's not about our individual life. Our life is part of the wholeness. Our life is an individualized piece of the wholeness, of this greatness, of this vastness that the universe, that spirit, that God is, that we cannot comprehend with our minds. It's just not possible. Our minds are not made that way. But there is something within us that can understand it. It's something that can comprehend it. It's our soul, our spirit, our true self, our divine heart, whatever we want to call it. It's that part of us that we are that is not identified with our human self, with the ego. It's not identified with that. That's why we call it our true self. And so our spiritual journey is really about just taking time and finding stops along the way to rest and connect and move into the awareness of that oneness that we are and where we live and where we're seeking to be if we're not there. It's all about that. The truth is that this journey just kind of goes on and on, doesn't it? I mean, we're still on it. When we leave this planet, we'll still be on it, I'm guessing. There are people who transcend and they find that place of enlightenment and they move on to something else. But for most of us, we're just continuing on to learn and to grow and to experience this idea that we know as oneness. Remember the old joke about the man saying to the hot dog vendor, "Make me one with everything." Well, it was a funny joke. It really was a funny joke, but it turns out that there may be some merit in that old story. Because here's the thing, you know, when you are on the spiritual journey, you're looking for someone, a teacher, a guide, someone who will help make you one with everything, right? Help you experience that. Now, when we go and ask someone that, or we're in our minds seeking that, that is our own, really, I call it naive ignorance, because we believe that someone else can give that to us, when really we already have our oneness. No one needs to give it to us. We already have it. But our journey is to reveal and to uncover and to live from that conscious awareness of the oneness that is indeed in us and that we do indeed already have. So a month of exploring oneness, how awesome is this? For me, this ministry that we've been in for these many years have provided a wealth of opportunities for me to walk the path of oneness. And when I think about it, there have been times when I have been, you know, spot on. I have been squarely on that path. I knew it. I could feel it. and I experienced it. And there have been times when I have wandered far, far away from that path. For the most part, I've just kind of, like many of us, or most of us, we we weave in and out and off and on that path. But for me, the path is still here, and I'm still walking it. And I will continue to walk it until I'm no more. And what I know too is that for all of the years that we have been here, you in the community, you have been my greatest teachers and my greatest guides. You have helped show me the way. You have helped me stay on my path. And I'm grateful for that. And so this morning, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the things that I've learned being a minister here, some of the things that I've learned that have helped me on this path, on this journey to oneness. This is what some of the things I've learned so far. Okay, so what I've learned, number one on my list, is that I've learned that waiting for God and waiting on God is not easy. It is not easy. And this is, for me, this is my truth. In all honesty, learning to be patient, I have not mastered that skill. Hand up, I absolutely am not patient. I have not mastered that skill. And the good news for me is, though, that I know that I haven't mastered that skill. I'm not in denial about it. I totally recognize when I am being and feeling impatient. And what we know is, what we've learned is that in recognizing what it is that you don't have or what it is that you need, then it gives you the opportunity to say, there it is again. That's right. I need to work on that. And you can work on it right then. And so it speeds, it moves along your growth. And so I've learned a lot. I've learned that I cannot make things happen when I want them to happen. I've tried. Have you tried? It doesn't work. I've learned that I can't rush the divine. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Well, okay, those are just words. Because the truth is that the will of heaven is just that. The will of heaven is the will of heaven. It is the will of heaven. And I may not always understand why things happen the way they happen. I may not understand why some things take so long. But that is not my business. My job is just to place my word into the law, to set things in motion, and then to allow things, there it is, that word, to allow things to unfold in the proper time. Now that is patience. That is patience. When I am not feeling patient and I'm feeling frustrated, I have used a few tools. The most basic one is the one that we all use, and that is deep breathing. When you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling frustrated, the first thing you want to do is take a few deep cleansing breaths. I call these little places where I need work, I call them pebbles in my path. And so when I experience these pebbles, I work on deep breathing. And this deep breathing is a perfect practice for any pebbles in anyone's road. If I'm very frustrated, I may have to start counting. The old thing about, before you get angry or before you say something you don't mean, count to 10. Well, this is different than that, because this is frustration for me. And so counting to 10 to deal with my frustration is really kind of like a joke. So I have to count backwards from 100, because I find that if I start from 100 and start counting backwards, it causes me to have to concentrate more. And if I have to concentrate more, then I'm not thinking about what it is that I'm frustrated about. So counting backwards from 100, good strategy. I offer it to you. If you need patience, try it. Actually what ends up happening is I get so bored with counting backwards, or I lose my place, and then I forget what I was frustrated about. It's good. It works. And the other strategy that I'm using now that I've added is a gift from Delon Richenberg, who spoke last week. I am now practicing closing my eyes and imagining myself floating in the warm ocean, just floating there serenely, peacefully, happily with the sea turtles. And it brings me such a sense of calmness that I can be patient for a longer period of time. So thank you for that, Delon. Thank you for that. And what we know without question is that patience is necessary if we want to experience oneness. That it kind of goes without saying. We can't demand oneness right here and now. That doesn't happen. Another thing that I've learned is that there's a title of a book by Joel Goldsmith, and it's called The Thunder of Silence. And so I believe in that. I believe that there is thunder in silence. And you probably know this for yourself, that silence so often speaks so much more deeply than words can. And as a minister here, I have sat with people who have been in deep suffering, who have been struggling, in pain. And there have been times when I have spoken, and there have been times when I have not spoken. Because the truth is that sometimes people don't need our words. They just need us. They need someone to be with them, someone to listen to them, someone to hug them, someone to just sit with them in the silence. And it is these times of silence that I have shared with people that have opened my heart the very most. I am forever grateful for those moments. Because here's what I know, that the lesson and what I've learned is that if you want to truly be with someone, truly with someone, then you have to learn how to be still. You have to learn how to be quiet. You have to learn how to listen for what is unspoken, for what is not spoken. And then you open yourself and allow that divine wisdom, the presence of spirit, to move in through you and to guide and inform you. And what we know is that spirit always knows the perfect thing to say and the perfect thing to do. And that power of listening and that power of allowing spirit to move through you, that is the power and the thunder of silence. I've learned to do or not do, and that there is no try, good old Yoda. The spiritual journey and the spiritual path is not for sissies. This is not an easy road to walk, is it? It just is not. And so to truly spiritually evolve, if that's what you really, really want, then that requires discipline and it requires devotion. Discipline and devotion. Okay, discipline. It's one of those things that is in process. Discipline. But really, when I'm talking about discipline, and when I was talking there, I'm talking about discipline for myself. For me, discipline is in process. I'm constantly working on discipline. But for me, when I'm talking about discipline right now, what I'm really talking about is one main thing. And that main thing is always putting God first. Disciplining ourselves to always put God first. Taking time daily to commune with the divine will allow us to learn to practice keeping God first. Monitoring our thoughts and checking them out and saying, oh, holy cow, what am I thinking right now? This is very judgmental. This is very negative. This is not a God quality thought at all. I need to put God first and provide myself with as many opportunities as I can to practice that. When we practice devotion, and devotion is simply the actions that we take to honor and celebrate the presence of God in our lives. You know, when we meditate, when we pray, when we read spiritual books, when we chant, when we take walks and we commune with nature, when we practice any kind of creative activity, these are all experiences that if we consciously make them that, they are acts of devotion. If we offer them up to the divine, if we offer these actions and these activities to the divine, if we invite the presence of God with us when we go for walks, if we invite God in the kitchen when we're cooking. Remember Brother Lawrence. He invited God to be with him all day in all things that he was doing. These were devotional practices that allowed him to have the discipline to always put God first. You know, I believe that when we gather here on Sundays, when we come together, aren't we really invoking and evoking the presence of God? Aren't we inviting the presence of God to be with us in this experience each and every Sunday morning? It is a form of devotion, isn't it? It is a form of us experiencing oneness with the divine, but not just our own personal oneness, our oneness with the divine as we sit together with everyone else experiencing their oneness with the divine. It all becomes a oneness experience for all of us at the same time, simultaneously. This is why Sunday gatherings are so special, because we are all doing that. How beautiful. The next thing I've learned is that an empty bowl is always ready to receive. An empty bowl is always ready to receive. So I've learned that if I am too full of myself, which is far too often, or if I'm too full of the world, then there's no space for anything or anyone else. And that includes the divine. I'm taking up all my own personal space on my own personal self. Oh, no. That's too full of what I don't need to be full of. So I have to take time. I have to take time to consciously empty myself of myself. I have to take time to empty myself of the world and all of its madness. It's crazy out there. I have to empty myself from that. I have to take time to rest and restore my mind, my body, my soul, to realign and to clear myself out so that I am more available. This is true for everyone. This is true for all of us. That we need to cultivate this idea of emptiness. If we cultivate the idea of emptiness and we manage to make ourselves more empty, then we naturally become more available to be filled with the presence of God, to be filled with the conscious awareness of the goodness that God is. Oneness requires emptiness. Let's practice that. What I've learned is that the doors to oneness are always open, but we have to choose to walk through them. You know, the old saying, when one door closes, another one opens. Well, there's a little addition to that people have tacked onto that now. When one door closes, another one opens, but it can be hell in the hallway. I think we're all in the hallway right now. I know that I am. I know that I am. We're all kind of between, and I'm speaking now, all of us, and when we're talking about the spiritual community, about awakening ways and what's going on here, you know, we're between what was and what will be. We're between what's familiar and what's unknown. And this can be an uncomfortable place to be. Are you uncomfortable? It's okay, because we're all in this experience together, and there are all kinds of emotions that come up around it. And that's, you know, that's kind of the hallway experience, isn't it? But I came across a saying by Sufi poet Hafiz, and I think he can shine some light on our situation. He said this place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you. I'm going to say this again. This place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you. So what this means is that wherever we are, this place where we are, wherever we are, and whatever we're feeling right now or whenever, wherever we are and whatever we're feeling is exactly where we're supposed to be and exactly what we're supposed to be feeling in the moment. And the awareness that God is always in this. God is always right there. Just breathe that in. This place where you are right now, God circled on a map just for you. So we know that we are in the midst of change. And when change of any kind comes, our challenge is always to find a way to stay centered, balanced, and connected to that one that is within us. And I think that I am one with the frog that is in my throat right now. So, welcome, frog. Hello. Let's work on this together, shall we? So I came. I just recently read. It was in Unity magazine, actually. That just arrived. And isn't it wonderful when things arrive just when you need them to arrive? And I came across a story that was shared by Reverend Thomas Shepard. He shares this perfect story about himself and about this walk that he took. And he went on a walk to the ocean, and it was a rocky shore. And he was walking along, and he noticed that there in front of him was this shallow tide pool that was in front of him, and that the tide had come in and the tide had retreated, and the pool was left behind. And so he stopped for a minute, and he looked inside the pool, and he noticed tiny little star creatures, and he noticed hermit crabs and all kinds of little sea creatures swimming around in this little tide pool. And this tide pool from where he stood, from his perspective, was like a desert in the ocean, because these little creatures were essentially marooned there. They were trapped in this place like a desert in the ocean, where sand was on all sides of them, and the ocean is out there and they're here on the beach. But he said they acted like there was absolutely nothing wrong. And they acted like they were fully, he said that they acted like they were fully embraced by the entire ocean, even in that small little space. Well, how is it that they were able to do this? How were these little creatures marooned, abandoned, isolated here in this little tide pool, able to live like everything was fine? Well, these little creatures, their nature was not to worry. Their nature was not to be concerned. Their nature was to trust. Because what these little creatures knew, what they knew without question, was that soon, and very, very soon, the ocean would return to them and take them back with it. There was no need for worry. Wow. What a beautiful example of how to live, isn't it? Isn't it? And we say, oh, well, wouldn't it be great to live like that? Wouldn't it be great to live like them? Well, we are like them. We are exactly like them. We are here swimming in this ocean of God, swimming in this ocean of life. We just have to wake up and notice it and feel it and be aware of it. It's always here. Now, there are times when in our anger, in our frustration, in our negativity, and in our judgment and fear, where we, by the choices that we make, we self-isolate ourselves. We create a little separate, you call it a little tide pool ourselves in our own lives, where that ocean is not available to us. We're separate from it. We have created that illusion in our minds. But if we can just calm ourselves, if we could just get quiet and take a few deep breaths and just relax and trust and know that, like those little sea creatures knew, if we can just trust that in our understanding and in that place of knowing, we open up ourselves for spirit, for the divine to come rushing in to embrace us and return us to that great sea of life. It's just like that. We are that. We do live in that. Frank did a beautiful opening this morning about oneness. And not long ago, we taught a class, an Eric Butterworth class called The Creative Life. And in this book, Eric Butterworth talks about what God really is. What God really is. And we say God is life. And we say God is all of life. And we say God is light. But when we say that God is light, or we say that God is love, or we say that God is light, whatever, peace, joy, whatever we say that it is all of that, everywhere present. The entire universe is filled with it right here and now. The light of the divine is fully present right here, right now, everywhere, in the entire universe, right now. We are breathing it in. We are breathing it out. It is circulating in our bodies. It is circulating in our minds. It is everywhere present, always, all the time. We are one with that. We are in it. If we can just come to a place where we can actually visualize what that might be, and we can imagine ourselves in it, then this idea of oneness does not become so mysterious and does not become so elusive. It becomes something that we learn to live from. We live in the oneness of the divine, in us, as us. It cannot leave us. It is what we are. All of it, and all of us, and everything, as far as we can imagine. It's all that right now. Right now. We literally are one with all there is. One with God, one with Spirit, one with that holy presence. And we really don't have to do much of anything, really, but just be aware of it, open up to it, and say thank you for it. And so I invite you for just a moment to take a deep breath, just one simple deep breath. And say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this one life we are all sharing. We are all so very blessed. Namaste.
blissfully we're living in this field of dreams. Every day, in every way, we're living our life in spirit. Blissfully, we're swimming in the sea of dreams. Gracefully, faithfully, we're living a life of spirit. Blissfully in spirit. Blissfully in spirit. Blissfully living a life in spirit.
Thank you, Karen and Jimmy. Thank you, Terry. That was a wonderful talk this morning. Blew me away. Just a few announcements this week. Remember that next week I'll be speaking, and it will be my last full talk by myself. And then on the 27th, it will be our last Sunday. I hope you'll all plan on joining us back at the pavilion. We will be back there on the 20th. And, yesterday, several guys, Ron and Delon and Robin and I got together at the pavilion to start setting up the sound equipment and the video equipment for broadcasting from the pavilion. And it was amazing to be back in the presence of people again, to see people that I had only seen on the screen for a whole year and more. So I hope that as many of you as possible will be back on the 20th at the pavilion, and again on the 27th for our last Sunday, because as much as we're looking forward to retirement, we're definitely going to miss all of you. And I know that Susan and her group continue. And Susan, do you have any announcements that you want to make about what's going on with that committee?
No big announcement, except that the search continues and that we have another batch of letters to go out next week. And we also have lots of people sort of networking and getting the word out in every way we can think of. We might try some smoke signals, who knows? We'll think of something. And you know what I would just like to say to everyone is I have the privilege of being on the Soul Support team and the board of trustees. And I really just want to let everybody know that Awakening Ways is in such good hands with the board and with the soul support team. The love and the commitment and the work ethic, I mean, you name it, everybody is putting in 120%. So please just know that there are people that are just literally holding Awakening Ways. Our beloved Frank and Terry are holding us in their love and their attention. So we're good, people. We're good.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Um, yeah, that's all the announcements for this morning. It was wonderful to have all of you here today. And if you will, please join me in a benediction, and we will go our ways for the day. I know that there is a divine presence within me, within all of us, all sentient beings, everyone here present. I know that the love of God shields me. The life of God heals me. The power of God walks through me as my life. And I know that that is true for each and every person on this call today. That we are all loved, led, and lived by the divine, expressing through us as us. And what a blessing that is. We are so blessed. We give thanks, and until next week, and so it is. Amen.